वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं साद्वदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदं सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरे विषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरा तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम। यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरा तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम। यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरा तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम। यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरा यत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम।
यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम।
यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरा तत्र श्रीर्विजयो भूतिर् ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम। माताजी यत्र योगेश्वर विष्णु Yatra Bharto Dhanurdhara Tatra Siddhiyo Buddhir Durgayantir Manir Mama Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Bharto Janurdhara Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvanitir Matir Mama Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Parto Dhanurdhara Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dubhanitir Matir Mama. Word for word meaning. Yatra, where? Yoga Isvara, the master of mysticism. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Yatra, where? Partha, the son of Pritha. Dhanudhara, the carrier of the bow and arrow. Tatra, there. Srihi, opulence. Vijaya, victory. Bhuti, exceptional power. Dhruva, certain. Nitihi, morality. Matihi mama, my opinion. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Everybody please repeat. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Whose opinion is that? Okay, Sanjay, yes. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra's. He was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and Karna. He was hopeful that the victory would be on his side. But after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjay told the king, quote, "You are thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be all good fortune." Unquote. He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjuna because Krishna was there. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjuna was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of all opulences, and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is also the master of renunciation. The fight was actually between Duryodhana and Yudhishthira. Arjuna was fighting on behalf of his elder brother, Yudhishthira. Because Krishna and Arjuna were on the side of Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira's victory was certain. The battle was to decide who would rule the world, and Sanjay predicted that the power would be transferred to Yudhishthira. It is also predicted here that Yudhishthira, after gaining victory in this battle, would flourish more and more, because not only was he righteous and pious, but he was also a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. There are many less intelligent persons who take Bhagavad Gita to be a discussion of topics between two friends on a battlefield. But such a book cannot be scripture. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral. But the reality of the situation is clearly stated. Bhagavad Gita is the supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter, in the 34th verse, Manmana Babamad Bhakta. One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process. But the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion. Surrender unto Krishna. This is the verdict of the 18th chapter. From Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process. But to fully surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. The path of regulative principles of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. The path of regulative principles according to the orders of social life and according to the different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge. But although the rituals of religion are confidential, meditation and cultivation of knowledge are still more confidential. And surrender unto Krishna in devotional service, in full Krishna consciousness, is the most confidential instruction. That is the essence of the 18th chapter. Another feature of Bhagavad Gita is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Perfect knowledge of the absolute truth means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal, internal potency. The living entities are manifested of his energy and are divided into two classes: eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. The creation is affected by eternal time and is created and dissolved by external energy. This manifestation of the atomic or cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible. In Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, material nature, the living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the Absolute Truth, impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and any other transcendental conception exists within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. The living entity in his original position is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus, Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna, they have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord. And because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he is a particle of independence. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus, he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of its conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yatra Yogeswara Krishno Yatra Parto Dhanurdhara Tatra Se Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So, the 18th chapter is considered as the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, or the summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is finished on the 7th chapter, but to summarize everything, and we don't have much time also to explain everything about the conclusion, but nevertheless, as explains here, this Bhagavad Gita was first started. Sanjay was speaking through Dhritarashtra, and he was telling Dhritarashtra, who is the father of the Kauravas, 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana, and originally the heir of the throne is Dhritarashtra, but because he is blind and his brother Pandu, who has 5 sons, the 5 Pandavas, supposed to be given the reign to rule the kingdom. But out of envy, this kind of giving them what they're supposed to have, Duryodhana doesn't want to give them a chance, even size or a space being contained on top of a head of a pin. So it's really very small. And in order to get this position, the 5 Pandavas, they were cheated in the game of dice. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is part of the Bhishma Parva of the Bhagavad Gita, or the Brahma, call this Mahabharata, and it is the essence of the Mahabharata, actually. And the Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken in only half an hour, 45 minutes maximum. Usually in December, Gita Jayanti, we will recite Bhagavad Gita also, the whole 18 chapters, and it will take us around 2.5 hours to recite. But somehow, in the middle of the battlefield, they don't have 2.5 hours to have that full conversation. So Krishna somehow or other is able to convince Arjuna the same knowledge that was spoken to the sun god Vivasvan. He told Arjuna that I have spoken the same science to the sun god Vivasvan, and you are also present there. Krishna and Arjuna, they're always together when it comes to this discussion of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, is the Isvara Parama Krishna, Param Isvara. And out of his showing the opulence and being renounced, he became the chariot driver. Just imagine that. Your boss being your driver, and you sit in the back seat and your boss driving you. I don't think it'll happen in the material world. But out of love, because the love of the devotee is very, very, is greater than the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is the supreme, but greater than the Supreme Lord is the love of his devotee, that he can become subordinate. Sometimes you've seen also a picture of Krishna, baby Krishna, holding the shoes of Nanda Maharaj, or his cowherd boyfriends sitting on top of him, the shoulder, while they're playing. So if you tell this to others who does not know our philosophy, that God can be like this, they will not believe you, because for them to think of God, God is the supreme, so no one can be greater than him. Which is true, no one is greater than it. That's the meaning of Asamordva. Asamordva is the name of Krishna, meaning no one is greater or equal than him. But somehow, because of the love of his devotee, he became subordinate. He put himself in the lower position so that his devotee becomes more prominent. And this is the case of the Bhagavad Gita. The real hero in the Bhagavad Gita is not Lord Krishna, but it is Arjuna. Arjuna, who is one of the 5 Pandavas, the younger brother of Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the eldest. And because he's a friend and also a devotee of Lord Krishna, that's why this knowledge is revealed to him to establish the principles of Dharma, religion. It may be seemingly morally wrong to fight against or kill one's own kinsmen, one's own relatives. Relatives, because they're all coming from the same family. The Kuru dynasty. They're relatives. They're actually like blood brothers. They belong to the same blood. But somehow, to establish the principles of religion, Krishna has to side with the righteous, with the virtuous, the Pandavas, because they are the right heir of the throne. They're the right. And because they have been usurped these facilities, so war was instigated. So the whole war lasted 18 days. In those 18 days, a lot of killings happened from both sides. By sunrise, they will start fighting. By sunrise, if you're about to shoot one enemy, or you don't have to release that arrow. It stopped. Sunset, stop. And sometimes they will dine with each other, eat with each other. I don't think that happens these days also, between US and other countries. The president will come and dine with the other dictator. And no. But that is part of this process of martial arts. The way how they fight is according to the principles of religion. So Lord Krishna, he accepted the post of a charioteer for Arjuna. And this is an exhibition of his opulence, one of his opulence. The Supreme Lord himself put himself in such a way because ultimately he wanted Arjuna to surrender unto him, to win his heart, ultimately, to win his being determined to fight against the kinsman. He would do that. Even though later on, Lord Krishna revealed to Arjuna that he is a Supreme Lord by showing his universal form. As Prabhupada says, if somebody says he is a Supreme Lord, then the test is, okay, show me your universal form. If you can show me your universal form, like Krishna did, showing universal form to Arjuna, then we'll accept you as the Supreme Lord. But then Arjuna doesn't want that also, that kind of form, because he has this special loving relationship with the Supreme Lord in his two-armed form. So ultimately, the fight is between Duryodhana and Yudhishthira, and Arjuna was just fighting on behalf of his elder brother. And to establish the principles of religion, then Lord Krishna told Arjuna that actually, don't worry, because you're not this body. That is the first lesson in the Bhagavad Gita. You're a spirit soul. The body may perish, but the soul goes on. And all of these kings, they're already been killed by me. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to be an instrument. So he wanted ultimately Arjuna to surrender. And this is the main essence of the Bhagavad Gita, to surrender. To surrender unto the Supreme Lord. It's like that verse, that 1866, Sarva Dharmam Parityajya. Give up all of your so-called religious principles or practices and just surrender unto me. What we have nowadays, like this different so-called religions, it is a designation. As Prabhupada says, today you're a Hindu, tomorrow you can be a Buddhist, and the next day you can be a Christian, and the next day you can be a Muslim. It's a faith. Faith means faith can change. But the constitutional position of the soul never changes. We're all servants of the Supreme Lord. This is our eternal swarup. This is our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Gopi Bartur Pada Kamalayor Dasha 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 Anudas. So what is the symptom of surrender? What is the symptom of a surrendered soul? Is it just like having only tilak and having kantimala and japamala? Or anyone who's doing service? Is that a surrendered soul? Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur says, a symptom of a surrendered soul means that he renounced the mentality that I am the doer. That is being a surrender. He doesn't consider himself as in charge. Most of the times, because of false ego, when we do something, even say to serve the Lord or his devotees, one may have this misconception that I am in charge. So as soon as he says that I am in charge, that means you're the doer. then you are not surrender. Mm. One must surrender to the will of the Supreme Lord. If one wants to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, that means he give up everything. It's like in the World War II, you know, in order to surrender, they show this white flag, you know, the guerrilla warfare. They show white flag, and when they surrender, also, they don't just say, "I surrender," with one hand. How do they surrender? With two hands. I give up. So devotees are like this also, knowingly that on their own, they're not able to cross over this ocean of material sufferings. Surrendering means, "Oh Krishna, I give up, and you lead the way. You show me the way. I'll try to follow as much as possible, 100%, the way you showed me how to proceed." This is a symptom of surrender. Completely, he depends on Srimati Radharani. Completely, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, that depending on Srimati Radharani means acknowledging that I am insignificant, and I give up all the pride. And this is one of our, if not, this is our worst enemy, being proud due to false ego. Being proud of anything. Even there's a saying, even a pauper is proud of his penny. So as one makes advancement in Krishna consciousness, there is a tendency that also one becomes proud and thinking that, yes, it is because of me. No, we should not be. If one thinks like this, then definitely he cannot surrender. And we will not be able to capture the heart of Srimati Radharani. This is according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. Also, we must develop we can be proud. Prabhupada says also, one can be proud to be a servant of Krishna. But we should not be proud in such a way that we forgot to help others also to become servants of the Supreme Lord. Because if one is proud, then he will not want to help others in Krishna consciousness. So we should be develop the pride being proud that we are also servants of Krishna. Otherwise, we cannot fully surrender or take complete take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and follow His instructions. So, as Prabhupada says, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken or the whole fighting between the Kurus and the Kauravas and the Pandavas in 18 days. So similarly, we can also conquer the whole world. ISKCON can conquer the whole world in 18 days. We can win over the material energy and be able to convince everyone. How to do this? We have to become surrender. Because if one sees, if the whole world, that the followers of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are fully surrendered, not just through action, not just through words, not just through the mind, but ultimately one's very self, then they will also become inspired and encouraged to take up to the same process. Actually, to surrender is easier than not to surrender, because that is our natural position. To not to surrender, you have to make yourself miserable. What makes us not to surrender is our mentality, is our ego ultimately. So how can you recognize a devotee who's a surrender then? He's always serving. Especially, he serves the Vaishnavas. When he serves the Vaishnavas and inquire from the Vaishnavas, that verse, Tad vidhi paripatena pariprasnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Because one would like to understand the supreme absolute truth. On our own, we'll not be able to do it. But if through serving those who are completely surrendered, then ultimately we also learn how to surrender like them, because they will be able to show us the proper way how to do it. Not in a challenging mood. Not in a challenging mood, because one may inquire. It's like Prabhupada, when he gives lectures, some rebellious person may challenge Prabhupada. Says, what's wrong to become a dog? Because Prabhupada says, if you like, you can become a dog. And then one person says, I would like to become a dog. Then Prabhupada says, okay, you have my blessings. We should somehow or other ask especially pertinent questions in order to go deeper into this knowledge. Because acquiring knowledge can burn the sinful reactions that we have performed in the past. In course of our travels, in some places, they really ask so very intelligent questions. And sometimes you have to spend half of the class, even 20 minutes or 40 minutes class, and then you have questions for an hour and a half. And if you don't tell them stop, they'll just keep asking and asking questions. And they're not like foolish questions. Sometimes Prabhupada, is there any question? And then a disciple said, it may sound foolish. Don't worry. Question may be foolish at the same time, but it should be very sincere. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is like that. It's like a question and answer between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. And here, the Supreme Lord is the one who's giving instructions. But in some other cases, we've heard the Supreme Lord is the one who's asking the question and his devotee is giving the answer. Was that Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Or that in Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Harinam Chintamani? Haridas Thakur is the one who's giving answer to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, but the result, the knowledge that's being given is the same. The result is the same. So the feature of the Bhagavad Gita is so unique that it is the ABC. Prabhupada says it is the ABC, but it is the most difficult to understand. We cannot go further in other scriptures if we cannot understand the Bhagavad Gita. There's one devotee who was, he won there was a contest of the Bhagavad Gita, like a quiz in South India. He lives here in Vrindavan. He's a young boy. So he won. He was there are hundreds of participants. So he was the main champion. And he was invited in different parts of the world, even in America, or somewhere in Asia. And he told me that this is the most difficult. It is so deep. Others may criticize us, why are you talking always about Bhagavad Gita? It's like here, this is the 10 times now that we've gone through. And then after this, we will continue again. Others may say, this is for the neophytes. Let's go on. But if we cannot understand Bhagavad Gita, how can we go to Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is for the Paramahamsas. But nevertheless, the more we read the Bhagavad Gita, the more we understand, then the more we will remember. And Krishna actually becomes happy when we recite the scripture. He takes the pleasure He gives pleasure to him. It's like when we call his name, he's the one actually who gets the pleasure. And when he's happy, automatically we are happy. So the Supreme Absolute Truth can be understood in three features. And here, when we read the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Shi Bhagavan Uvacha. This is the Param Uvacha. This is the topmost words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Bhagavan, as a person, Krishna has three features. This Brahman, the effulgence coming from the form of the Supreme Lord, transcendental form. Then there is the localized aspect, the Paramatma, who is present in everyone's heart, in every atoms, in every living beings, only in the material world. And there is the Absolute Truth, Supreme Absolute Truth, the Bhagavan feature, the personal form of the Supreme Lord, in Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So the Supreme Lord here manifested himself in order to teach. As we mentioned earlier, the Supreme Lord, he does not come to ultimately to establish religion, because he can send his representatives to establish religion. He does not have to come to kill the demons. Demons can be killed ultimately by time. They all get old also. They all gonna be killed by time. Time is the representative of Krishna also. That is Krishna. Krishna ultimately come to attract the conditioned souls, the eternally conditioned souls, Nityabadha, like us. With performing his lila with his pure devotees, parisads, his eternal associates, who come also from the spiritual world in the material plane, in order for us to become attracted that actually there is that kind of relationship that one has, a unique, special relationship that every one of us has. Doesn't have to be in human form of life. It can be a creeper, like Uddhava. We passed by Uddhava Kund last night. Uddhava is eternally a creeper in Vrindavan. He's satisfied just to have the foot dust coming from the gopis or the inhabitants of Vrindavan touch his head. Or even Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma also, he just wanted to be a creeper also. Even just immediately outside of Vrindavan. Not even inside Vrindavan, but immediately outside Vrindavan, because the dust also from when the inhabitants of Vrindavan will walk, they will be like, sprinkle unto his head. So this is the uniqueness of our movement, about this understanding the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna is present everywhere, but at the same time he is not there. Krishna is present in the mic, but the mic is not Krishna. Because this is material energy, it came from him. That doesn't mean that we worship the mic as Krishna. We worship Krishna in his Archa Vigraha form. Radhashama Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Radhesham, Lalita, Visakha. And this is according to the scriptures. It's not one's imagination. Krishna has an eternal form, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. Knowledge. And we are also in that category. Because we are part and parcels of Krishna, but we are minute. We are anu, small. Prabhupada says we are also are Krishna, but small Krishna. There is a big Krishna, unlimited Krishna. We are small Krishna, because it's like a drop of water in the ocean is the same as the whole ocean. Same quality, but the quantity is different. So the living entity in his original position is pure spirit. Prabhupada says there's only no more than 10% of the entire created living beings in the material world. 90% of the living beings in the spiritual world are eternally liberated. They are in the spiritual world. The material world is 1/4 of the entire creation. 3/4 of the creation is the spiritual world, but at the same time, it says that the material world is just like a small dot compared. And less than 10% who are wanting to enjoy are here in the material world. But it's not possible to enjoy in the material world because our real nature is in the spiritual world. So by proper understanding the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, to ultimately surrender, to give up our mentality to enjoy this material world, to surrender unto the Supreme Lord through His bona fide representatives, because we cannot fully surrender to Krishna without surrendering unto His bona fide representatives, the spiritual master. We'll not be able to go back to our original home. There's a saying in English, there is no place like home. Do you feel like home in Vrindavan? Isn't it? You don't even think of what's going on outside when you're here. Because this is a real home, especially in Vrindavan. Prabhupada said, Vrindavan is my home, Mayapur is my place of worship, and Mumbai is my office. So maybe your office is where you're going back. And when you come back here, this is the real place where you feel very comfortable, very peaceful, shanti, and you feel very, very much, you appreciate actually everything, every devotees, everyone. It's easy to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra here. It's easy to do any kinds of spiritual activities here. If you go out of Vrindavan, you have to struggle hard just to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and focus. Here maybe a little bit, but not so much. It's easier here. And everything that you do here is like multiplied 1,000 times. That is the potency of Vrindavan. So, the system of philosophy that we understand is this Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, which is very easy. That's why it's very easy to understand our philosophy. We have the answer for everything. Once you reply to anybody who's like challenging you, you can always use this philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, which he actually took from all the different sampradayas. So in this way, we'll be able to convince others as well in the process of Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here. I'll just give a very short synopsis. Otherwise, this can be explained detail by detail. Any questions? And before you go, don't forget, we have a very nice prasadam for you on the way out because of finishing this Bhagavad Gita today, 18th chapter. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How can we be in charge and not be in charge?
How can you be in charge? Just consider yourself, how can you be in charge and not be in charge? Just think yourself as an instrument. You don't think of course, your goal is to present and give Krishna pleasure, to make him happy. So to your best of ability, according to your capacity, to your knowledge, do your best. If something happens wrong, don't think that because of others. And if something becomes successful, it's because of you. The result, Arjuna, is not, the result is actually, Krishna did already the result. You just have to do your part. And try to engage others also. Being in charge means I do everything myself and I don't want anybody to do it except myself. No, that's not being in charge. Being in charge means accommodate as many devotees as possible to become the offering to Krishna. Very, very pleasing to Krishna. That's being in charge. Being in charge means, oh, don't help that devotee. You just help me. That's not being in charge. I know some temples are like that. There's a division. You try to win others' favor and don't let them just say no to that devotee. No. That's not being in charge. You are discharged. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu? Your hand is up? Was up? Yes? No? Any other questions, Mataji?
Just a comment, that Srila Prabhupada was a perfect example of someone who he didn't take credit. I mean, he referred to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for inspiring him and for even actually sending him
Where's the mic?
disciples.
Prabhupada is the best example of not taking credit for himself. He always give the credits to his spiritual master. Every time that they praise him and glorify him, no, it is only by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. He
There
will
was
always say.
one address, I think it was the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Prabhupada gave a class, and this was, after he came to America. I forgot what year it was, but he actually broke down and started crying a little bit, saying that, my Guru Maharaj
Save me. Guru Maharaj saved me also. Yes, send you.
sent all of you.
Yes. Prabhupada says also to his disciples, you are all my guru. You are all my spiritual masters. He said that one time. Because he learned. Just like the parents, by teaching the children, they learn from their children also. So Srila Prabhupada, out of humility, he never considered credit really is. The spiritual master is like this. As soon as the spiritual master thinks that it is due to him for everything that's happening because of the student, is finished. It is because of the Guru Parampara. It's not just only him. It is because the Guru Parampara. So we should think like this also, and this should be our mentality, that everything that we do, even if you, it's like an example, if you wish to cross the, it's like, they have this, they want to set a record, like there's a swimmer in the English Channel. You don't swim alone. You have someone to coach you behind. Okay, slow down a little bit. Okay, go. So similarly, on our own, we cannot do it. Not possible. It's impossible. We always need mentors. We always need guidance from more advanced devotees. The Mayavadis are like this. As soon as they become advanced, then they kick their spiritual master. Once they think they are liberated, then they kick the guru. But we're not like that, because our relationship with our spiritual master is eternal. Life after life. Yes.
Srila Prabhupada, he calls the ISKCON West Virginia Center New Vrindavan. And he calls that temple in France, New Mayapur, and like that.
Or New Jagannath Puri.
Right. So sometimes we hear that Vrindavan in of India?
No. Prabhupada says Vrindavan is not the material world. This is Vaikuntha. Temples also, the temples. These are like embassies of the spiritual world. What makes a temple is because of the consciousness of the devotees. Devotees has to act like devotees. If they act contrary to being devotees, then the atmosphere, you don't feel like living in a temple. Some temples I've been is like that, they just want to go away. They don't want to see the devotees. Why? Because there's always, the consciousness is not proper. The consciousness is not there. If we're all chanting nicely, get out of our false ego, try to appreciate everyone's service, either small or big, whatever. Because everyone has something to offer to Lord Krishna. Every temple is, Prabhupada says, is Vaikuntha. Even a small temple. I've been to small temples in Russia recently, in South Russia. They're so loving. Devotees are working with each other. The atmosphere, you just, you can stay there for a long, long time. In other temples, even though it's big, you don't want to stay. I've been to a temple in America. I'm sorry. We're in the internet. It says, Maharaj, don't chant the names of the deities, okay? Maharaj, don't chant, very, be a little bit, what is this? Is this a Hare Krishna temple or what? I didn't say that to the president. This is the tendency. You've been here in the kirtan here, the whole building is gonna explode because of the kirtan. And in America, one temple it says, Maharaj, become a little bit calm in your kirtan, okay? What? Because they try to adjust to the newcomers. Who are these newcomers? Maybe they will be more attracted if we chant, enthusiastically. And don't chant the names of the deities? Where have you, are they, what? What is that?
It's a secret.
Huh?
It's a secret.
It's a secret. The deities are there. The deities are there and you cannot chant the names of the deities? Is that a temple? Is that a Prabhupada's temple? Huh? That's okay, but it's not wrong to glorify the Lord by their names. Like if I call your name, the sweetest word in this world is your name. Why do we chant Hare Krishna? That is the name of Krishna. Radha Shyam is not the name of Krishna. Many things Prabhupada did not say to us. Because Prabhupada says, if I told you this, you will faint. But it doesn't mean it's wrong to chant the names of the Lord. So the atmosphere of the temple depends on the consciousness of the devotees who are in the temple, living in the temple. It is not the paint, it is not the structure, it is not the lightings. It is the consciousness. Because energy actually is very, very strong. If you meet a very Krishna conscious person, it doesn't matter what color he is, what gender, what nationality, the background, but if a person is very Krishna conscious, you can feel the vibration coming. So powerful. It's not how nicely you are dressed, your sari or your dhoti or nice tilak. No. It's what's inside. So these different temples actually are embassies. Okay? Yes, sir.
Krishna is present in our heart as a pure spirit soul. Is it only for this material world or also in the higher planetary system and spiritual world also?
In the material world only. Yeah. Krishna is present there already.
And there are living entities there. I mean, there are entities and
That's all
there are
right.
bodies.
That's okay.
So he is not present, meaning of that in their bodies.
In the material world. Anything else? Okay, one last question or two last questions. Yes, Prabhu? Where is the mic? Give the mic, please.
Yes, Maharaj. We struggle with the false ego.
Yes.
The first covering when the living entity comes into the channel.
Mm-mm.
So how do we dissolve that false ego and the pride within our mind?
That can only be overcome when you are willing to surrender and serve the Supreme Lord or His devotees. Because the tendency of one who has pride, who is very much into his ego trip, is that he doesn't want to serve anyone. He wants to see everyone very small. The one who doesn't have false ego, he thinks himself as the most insignificant, as the lowest. So he's ready to serve anybody and everybody, devotees or non-devotees. Some, they just want to show that they're serving devotees because they are proud of being seen serving devotees. So that is not also good.
Seems like there's so many traps.
Yeah. So real serving devotees are like, with lovingly. Sometimes devotees serve devotees with prasad. Here's your prasad. Okay. Here. Then all the prasad all over your place. That's not, no. Lovingly. You can see the advancement of a devotee according to his actions. To his actions. The way he serves, the way he offers flowers, the way. In some places is you can feel that there is really bhakti there. So if you really want to get rid of your false ego, you have to be lower than the blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. Be ready to offer respect to others and not expecting respect to yourself. As soon as you wanted respect for yourself, then false ego is there. And for sannyasis, it's very difficult because everyone is trying to offer you respect. Sannyasis should think that it is not you that they're giving respect. It is to the cloth. It is to the danda. Because as soon as you think that, oh yes, they're offering respect to me, I'm finished. And I should not say, oh, how come he's not offering respect to me? He's not a good boy. He's not a nice devotee. I should not. We should not think like that. If somebody gives you respect or no respect, you accept. Because as soon as you think, everyone should respect me, or how come he's not giving me respect? Then something is wrong there. That's false ego again. It's very subtle. Very, very subtle. It is the thickest of them all. Before we get out of this material world, there's so many different levels or elements, material coverings that we have to go through or pass through. And one is 10 times thicker than the other, these different material elements. Gross and subtle. And the thickest of them all is ego, is false ego. And that's why we're still in the material world, due to false ego. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.